Hi Sander, thank you for joining Coffee Heroes. We are in Tallinn, near your bakery, the RØST bakery. You are the owner, and but I'll let you introduce yourself and maybe tell us a bit more about the bakery and
Sure.
what are you doing.
My pleasure. Well, about myself, I guess RØST Bakery is the main thing that I'm involved in on a daily basis. I don't have any side projects at the moment. And this was something me and my girlfriend started. Well, we opened it about 6 years ago now, but we generated the idea about 12 or so years ago. And it came from my time studying in Sweden, where I just got a lot of inspiration for what a coffee shop should look like. I wasn't really into coffee before Sweden at all. And there I just got wrapped up in this fika culture. Coming back from Sweden, I didn't still think about opening a bakery. But after spending some time back in Tallinn, I noticed that there was such a lack in this space. And then I just started to think more and more about what a good coffee shop / bakery could be in Tallinn and what it should be.
I see. And so, why bakery, like pastries and not cakes? Because most people associate, coffee with cakes. So, what was the idea behind that?
I guess I came in with a blank slate. I didn't associate coffee with anything. I didn't really even drink coffee before I was 21.
Okay.
And when I got into coffee, I only started to drink like higher quality, what's now called specialty coffee. So I only came into the coffee world drinking quality coffee. And then I didn't even associate it with any kinds of pastries at all.
And it's interesting because most of the people, we start drinking lower quality coffee and then eventually we get to the better. Do you think, have you ever thought about how different it is? Like that you might have a different perception of coffee? Or?
I think if I was hooked on it, I definitely would have a different perception of it. I would need to drink it on a daily basis, which I don't do now even. I don't feel a need for coffee still. But I don't think at the end is that different. I know many people in the specialty coffee scene, including my girlfriend, who has drunk coffee for ever since she was a teenager. And she needs it in the morning and to get herself boosted up. So she's also been a part of this shit coffee scene in the past. And we can still end up in the same place with the same ideas. So I'm not sure if it's really fundamental to anything we do here.
So what was first, coffee or bakery?
I think if I were to pick one, it would probably be the bakery because I got more inspiration from the bakeries in Sweden. But it's always been a combination. Like I've never separated one from the other. The main influences in Sweden were quality black coffee with cinnamon buns on the side.
Yep.
And then everything in Sweden is done so decadently and so visually deliciously that it's kind of hard to not want to have the things. But I never felt that kind of feeling going to other places like in Tallinn or on any of my other trips. So that's when I first started to think about even pastries. I never been a baker before that or any kind of food enthusiast.
What inspired you? Why did you want to bring it to Tallinn? That's pretty much it, I guess.
Yeah, as I said, we had the idea in our head for about 6 years or so before we actually managed to open the place. And we got the contract for this neighborhood about 3 years before we started to open. It was under development and still being built. But everything just took a long time in our own heads to kind of ferment and to really come into place. And I think the main thing from the beginning was I just wanted to create the atmosphere.
Yep.
Like going to places in Sweden, I didn't really care about the products that much. Like a cinnamon bun is good when it's warm, that's fine. And coffee is always good when it's quality coffee. But it's not that hard to recreate that part. I was always thinking more about what the atmosphere of the place should be like, what the experience of the person should be like when they come in. Like if they get a good product, that's the basics, but everything else on the side is what makes the experience.
Do you think that's why people return so often to your show? Because I've met several people from Tallinn and I spoke about them, they all told me like you should go to RØST because it's really, and they didn't mention the products. First they mentioned it's a really nice place and it has a good vibe.
Thanks. I think it's both. I mean, we managed to kind of randomly strike on the popularity of the cinnamon buns because we didn't we developed that recipe quite quickly, but randomly it became a hit. And that's one part that people come for, like they mentioned the cinnamon and cardamom buns, but the recurring customers, they definitely come for the atmosphere.
Anyway, we were speaking about the specialty coffee.
Yeah.
So for you, it was always the only option.
Yeah, I never even considered any other options. I just tried to get my head around what specialty coffee was. Just I wanted to be knowledgeable about all of the aspects of the simple business that we created, because it is only bread, buns, and coffee that we make. And then I wanted to get really deep into all of those areas.
Okay.
But just going around coffee shops around the world in 6 years, we traveled a lot in that period, and getting an idea of what people were doing in other places in that scene helped us a lot. Then, as you mentioned, you went to Brick Coffee Roastery. When we found the Brick Coffee Roastery, we kind of found a good partner for us because they were similarly minded about what kind of coffee business they wanted to run. And they're very keen on like looking for the good input product and not really focusing too much on marketing.
I see.
Which I'm not sure how it works for them, but for us, it's I think the best option, because we're not really outwardly communicating. Like we don't really do any social media activities at all. We just try to go on quality and word of mouth. And they had a very good model that's with us until now. So we buy coffee from them for like 6 years now.
Okay.
Plus we have a couple of Scandinavian roasters like La Cabra that we always order from.
But I want to ask about this combination of bakery and coffee becomes very common. So what do you think that is the magic behind it? Why people enjoy it so much?
I think it's just such a logical and comforting combination that I'm not a big cake person, if you described cakes before, so I'm not too into sugar. But I just feel like both of these things are kind of like comfort food.
Yep.
They're both hedonistic in their genesis. So I think it's a perfect match. You need something liquid and you need something solid, and both of them need to be warm and they need to be comforting you. So I think that's why it works as a combination.
Do you think that is the only connection? For instance, what I see is also that you have high quality coffee and then high quality bakery, and I think to produce each of them you need a lot of effort and conscious, and so I think it goes nicely in that way as well.
That's true. There's a lot of connections like that obviously work together to make this combination work wherever you go in the world. Also, it might be down to the taste preferences that you want. If you have something bitter like coffee, you want something sweet like a bun on the side. You don't want something very spicy. So it just makes logical sense on many aspects, I think.
And what kind of feedback do you have from your customers? What do they appreciate the most?
Customers are different. I think most of our regulars come in for the coffee because nobody can eat the same buns for 5 or 6 years in a row. And then the people who come in occasionally who don't live or work nearby, they mainly come in for the baked goods, I think.
I see.
But the most feedback we get from the customers is the one we described before. Is like you get the feeling that you're a part of the family, kind of.
Yes.
Like the baristas that we have working today, both of them have been with us for 5 years. They know a lot about our regulars. They probably know more about our regulars than their partners do. And that's a big thing. Like you have somebody like a hairdresser or a barista that you can talk to about almost anything.
And this sense of belonging, it's very important.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that I always appreciate when I'm going to familiar places as well.
Yeah, and even when you go abroad for like 5 days, at least I do it. I just pick a coffee shop that I like the most, and I try to become a regular within that 5 day period.
And it's nice because then you see different elements of the shop, and also like you can see that the baristas or people working there, they start asking you a bit more questions, and you feel almost like home.
Yeah, for sure. Like you can become a regular in like 3 visits.
Yeah, definitely. How people in Estonia enjoy their coffee? Because for instance, in some countries and in Czech Republic, most people having a coffee means having something sweet as well. So how is it in Estonia? It's the culture.
I don't think it's tied to well with having something sweet on the side. I think coffee for most people is still a habit. It's a ritual, like it is in most places in the world. The coffee corner in the workplaces is the same everywhere. Everybody goes there, complains about how shit the coffee is, and talks about something else. So it's like a regular country in that sense. And I've been to, I worked for a Swedish company for a while. It's exactly the same over there. And yeah, I think the coffee scene is diverse in a way that and now people can experience whatever they feel like experiencing. The people who want to have this older, bitter, harsher taste of coffee, they can do that easily. And the people who look for more softer and more subtle tastes now, they have their options. So now you're not really forced to be in anybody's idea of what coffee is.
I see. And would you say that specialty coffee is popular in the country?
As with most places around the world, it's becoming more and more popular. But as like a business idea, it's still a pretty bad one. It's like just having a specialty coffee shop, if you're not the roaster, isn't still a viable business option in Estonia. And there have been places that try this, but the margins are just too slim, which means that it's not as popular as it is in the big metropolises around the world. And I know quite a lot of people within my own circles who still prefer like more basic coffee, and that's just what they're used to, and that's completely fine.
It is completely fine. Yeah. It's about the experience, and if it makes you happy, then I think it's perfect.
Even my own mother-in-law is the best example. That we have a kind of a box of crap coffee leftovers that whenever she comes by, we just make for her because she prefers that, and that's we don't ever drink that kind of coffee, but for her it's the only one she wants to have.
No, to be honest, I have something the same. I always keep like lower quality coffee, like or Brazil coffee, something like a bit more that's more pleasant for people who are not used to specialty coffee, because some of our friends, when they are coming over, they don't want this high acidic coffee that I enjoy, so I keep a little bit aside just for friends or anyone else.
The difficult part is that everybody knows we have a coffee business, and they assume that we're some kind of huge coffee snobs, when actually I never care about what people drink or do. I only care about myself pretty much. What somebody else does, no idea. Like, doesn't matter to me at all.
I think it used to be for some time that was the narrative that, like, if you're drinking specialty coffee, you're a coffee snob, and that you want everybody else drinking specialty.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think so. Like, just drink whatever makes you happy, and that's completely fine.
I'm not even interested in talking or explaining it to anybody. Like, if you don't get it, you don't get it. You don't need to drink it. Enjoy your cheaper coffee. That's like perfect for you. You don't need to spend a huge amount of money on things you don't like. Yeah,
that would be a miserable life. Spending money on something you don't enjoy. But the last question, the channel, the podcast, it's called Coffee Heroes.
Yep.
And so I wanted to ask, who's your hero? Either in coffee, but it can be in bakery as well in your case.
That's a tough one. because, as I said, I'm not on any social media platforms, so I don't really follow anybody. But a big inspiration in the beginning was obviously Chad Robertson with his bread baking, which now I've like not been too into anymore after like figuring out how everything works. But I guess a coffee person that there is of course James Hoffman, who I follow like religiously. I don't have him on any of the social media platforms, but I just follow his YouTube channel, and he's pretty much the only coffee person I listen to. I think he fits my sensibility just very well. Obviously, he's very popular as well, but he's a very non-BS kind of guy about talking about coffee, very unpretentious, very humble. I just love everything he does.
Me too. And a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of non-coffee people.
I think even, somebody else also, one of my guests on the podcast, they also mentioned James Hoffman. So
I don't know anybody in the coffee scene who doesn't know James Hoffman. So I think like he is the one that's actually shines above the hype masters.
Yes, but you're right that one thing that I enjoy about him is being very humble and very open to different ideas. As we discussed, like he wouldn't ever tell anyone that coffee you're drinking is shit, you should drink this, because I think like he can respect other people's choices very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sander, for talking to me. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you soon. And I'll try to become a regular in the rest of my time in Tallinn.
I think you're already a regular.
Yeah,
people recognize you now, so you're already known here.
Yeah, I've been here for 3 days, and I already visited your shop 3 times. So
exactly, that's all you need.
Okay, but thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.